We welcome you to another edition of Snap the Pigskin. Hello, it is time to talk breaking NFL trade news. DeAndre Hopkins headed to the Kansas City Chiefs, the NFL's last undefeated team. Are they the Super Bowl favorites? Injuries, skill position injuries are the big headlines headed into week 8 of the NFL season. And here to break it all down with me, Kedrick Stumbris, is Noah Clark, our wonderful host. Noah, how you doing?
Doing good. A bit exhausted. Been a long work week.
We know. But let's get through the drive of the week here. Let's pump it up. Noah, what is first down this week?
So we got first down. Kansas City Chiefs, last undefeated team in football. Vikings losing to the Detroit Lions. So now the Chiefs are the only team left. Should they be the Super Bowl favorites here, Kedrick?
No. The Kansas City Chiefs, look, for as wonderful as they have looked, grinding out wins so far this year. They haven't been the best team in football, despite those wins. That offense still cannot generate explosive plays. I understand that offense is still a top 10 unit in DVOA. That team as a whole is a top 5 unit in DVOA. It has a top 5 offense and defense in the league by that metric. But Patrick Mahomes is still running this weird dink and dunk offense. And are they going to be able to hit a nuke here, Noah? Does DeAndre Hopkins coming over from the Tennessee Titans help change up that offense?
Well, it's possible. I mean, you look at it with DeAndre Hopkins. They have still, Xavier Worthy, who's been having a good rookie season so far. And Marquise Brown potentially could be coming back for the Kansas City Chiefs by playoff time. That's a really good offense right there in terms of just speed. And now you have a guy who can help you out on the boundary with Hopkins. Mm-hmm. I do think Kansas City, like the issue I have with Kansas City is we've talked about this. They keep getting away with like all these wins. They win these games close. And for some reason, everybody's like, oh my God, they look like the best team in football. Not really. You look at Mahomes, really hasn't been playing like a top 10, top 5 quarterback this year. He's not even in a lot of categories.
Still buried in air yards per attempt, a full half yard fewer on air yards per attempt than Baker Mayfield, who's 31st in the league in that metric. I mean, like they just are not airing out the ball. And I get it. At a certain point, it doesn't matter. But like some of these teams that they're floating by, I mean, against the 49ers, 154 yards, 2 interceptions, still managed to come out with the win. Like I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get how they keep getting away with it. Obviously, the win over the 49ers is not the signature win that I think we all kind of thought it would be for a week 7 game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know we'll get into that a little bit later in the show with the current state of the 49ers. But I want to take a little bit of this if we're asking the question, like, who should be the Super Bowl favorite at this point in time? I think it's got to be the Baltimore Ravens. It is who I look at, and I am on record that I was tempted to put the Baltimore Ravens into my Super Bowl predicted matchup in the preseason. And right now, I have a little bit of regret that I didn't do it. The performance that Lamar Jackson and that offense put on Tampa Bay, a good defense, a defense that likes to blitz, a defense that can give an offense like that trouble, where it's going to change the cadence of everything Lamar wants to do and the different options he has back there between himself, Derrick Henry, or throwing the ball. They just dismantled it. They scored on 6 consecutive drives on Monday night. Incredibly impressive. Noah, what'd you make of that performance by Baltimore on Monday night?
Very, very impressive. Lamar and that crew going on the road to Tampa Bay and being able to win, I think, is very, very massive for that team. And I think what's even gives more credit is that defense able to come in and be able to hold up against that Bucs offense, because Tampa Bay's offense has been pretty good. They've been pretty good this year. They've been pretty electric all season long. And the Ravens came in and went blow for blow with them back and forth. It's really, it really looks like to me like they're one of those teams that could be a Super Bowl favorite. For me, I would say the Detroit Lions might be my Super Bowl favorite. Just because
Yeah.
they're kind of the same way with Detroit, with not Detroit, with Baltimore. But you look at it, I mean, like Detroit's just been taking care of business. They took care of business against the Vikings. They've been really, I think, all around a solid team on
Yeah.
offense, on the offensive side and the defensive side. So
Yeah, much better defensive metrics for
yeah,
the Lions so far. And before we get too far away from the Tampa Bay of it all, I mean, like like I said, Baker being 31st in air yards per attempt, and then that offense kind of not being able to do anything after Mike Evans left that game on Monday night. Looked different. And yes, the Bucks made a little bit of a push toward the end of that game. And then what do they get for the end of it? It's Chris Godwin basically turning his leg around backwards.
yikes.
He's going to be done for the season. Mike Evans, they're not going to get back until after their bye. But man, if they look like a team that is just an injury piece away from that offense just not being able to click. That's why I was a little bit skeptical of Baker being able to repeat his great performance from last season and parlay that into another great performance this season. But no, I think I'm right with you. If it's not the Ravens, it's got to be the Lions. And I mean, I've been on the Lions all off season into the beginning of the season. I mean, they are. Yeah, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I have no doubts about that still. I mean, I shouldn't say I have no doubts about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not doubting my choice to pick that as much as I am. Like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have just thought that Kansas City's inevitable, but I haven't seen anything to show me that I shouldn't believe that, at least. Eventually, something's got to catch up with Kansas City, and in the way that Derrick Henry is just giving that Ravens offense just something so different. And that's not a discredit to the other running backs who have been there, like J.K. Dobbins. There is just something different about Derrick Henry, who had his 15 carries or whatever on Monday night. And it's kind of just chugging along until all of a sudden it's bang, an 80-yard run, and it just feels like, all right, the game is over. And it's something that an explosive run game that Lamar doesn't have to create by himself, that, man, the Ravens just look so good on offense. And you wonder that if they just have average defensive performance, is that going to be enough?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too with Baltimore. Like the big reason why Lamar is having so much success is because he doesn't have to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a guy like Derrick Henry. I mean, like giving it to him, 20, 25 times a game is perfectly fine for him. He's able to do that. He's able to carry that workload. You look at it versus when you look at the past years when they had J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, it wasn't working because those guys could not take a pounding where they could get 20, 25 carries a game. And I know that sounds wrong, but but with Derrick Henry, like he is the type of back. We've seen it. You look at in Tennessee. He did the same thing in Tennessee, where he's able to carry the ball, being able to get those type of yards, being able not only to do that, but being able to 5 minutes left in the game. You have the ball. You're up by 7. Great closer for a running back, and that's what I think they've been missing for this Ravens team is that closing running back, where if it's, a close game, you have the ball, they don't have any timeouts left. You got to start running that clock. Derrick Henry's the guy. And yeah, Baltimore, this team's scary. This team's scary, man.
Todd Monken is bringing that college football BS, and they are just crushing it right now.
And they're improving.
And I mean BS in the most lovable way, because the offensive game between college and pros has not looked this similar in quite a long time. Yeah, and it does feel like they continue to get better week after week after week. Yeah, it's, man, Kansas City got them on that first night of the season, but if they were to play again, I'm taking the Ravens right now. I don't know how you couldn't, unless you're just saying, yeah, the Chiefs got that voodoo magic, and maybe they do.
Yeah, and the same thing with the Lions too. Like the Lions because they lost to the Bucks. Remember, they also lost to the Bucks. So it's like there's two things that could change. If the Lions had won that game against Tampa Bay, maybe they're also sitting here undefeated and as a Super Bowl favorite. I mean, just a lot of stuff to think about for those Chiefs.
Yeah.
And we still got halfway to go before we get to the playoffs. Number 2, second down here. Big news for the San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Ayuk out for the season for the San Francisco 49ers, torn ACL, and I believe also a torn MCL as well.
Yeah, he got
And
double dinged.
and Kyle Shanahan says it's going to be a long recovery back to 2025. What's also brutal about that is Deebo Samuel had to get taken into the hospital for ammonia-like illness, and he also got released a few days ago. So that's good for Deebo. But
Released from the hospital,
yes,
not
released
from
from
the 49ers.
No, not from the 49ers. No, not from the 49ers. But
you had Packers fan me licking my chops for a second, man.
Yes. But he got released from the hospital. Christian McCaffrey's still not back. The Niners wide receiving core depleted right now, and their wide receivers that they have are Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, who, by the way, got shot earlier this year and has been on IR since that point. And he's coming off of IR now, getting a chance. What the heck is going to happen to the Niners? We've seen this story play out in 2020. It hasn't panned out well for them. What happens here? What's going on? Is the Niners downfall actually happening now? Are we seeing this in real time?
No, the division is too bad.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's ultimately what it is, right? Like, what other team in that division do you trust? It's not Seattle. We've chronicled that on the show plenty of times. We've chronicled the glass cannon that is the Arizona Cardinals, which, by the way, that other Monday Night Football game, I cannot believe that I was listening to these commentators talk about, like, oh, this is how impressive it is for Kyler Murray to just throw the ball on blind routes. He's throwing to a spot, not necessarily knowing that the receiver is going to be there. Like, just kind of dismissing the fact that it's only a blind route because Kyler Murray's 6 inches too short.
He's
to see over the dang offensive line. I know that Kyler Murray's short thing is like overplayed and a lot of it is like BS and jokes. But in that moment, I was like, what are we? You should not. There is a way to talk about this and responsibly be like, this is an interesting part of the offense, but it's only interesting because Kyler Murray is shorter than a prototypical quarterback, and you don't even mention that part. Anyway, them, and then who else is in the NFC West? The Rams, which are also injury depleted,
glass bones.
Yeah, seriously, but man. If you are a 49ers fan, yeah, it's tough sledding out there. Not to mention all that. Also, you probably have the worst starting linebacker in football, Devondre Campbell. Thank you from Green Bay Packers fan for taking him off our hands, by the way. It's tough. And Brock Purdy, didn't he have 2 rushing touchdowns against the Chiefs? I mean, he is kind of just being forced to do it all right now. And I don't even necessarily know that I want to make that a referendum on Brock Purdy or not, because it is one thing to say, all right, we need to trust the quarterback to be out there and do it himself. But in this case, he kind of has to do it himself. It's not like the supporting cast behind the elite weapons of the 49ers is all that great.
No, not really.
No. So yeah, a tough look for them that I think fortunately is still a playoff team. I mean, Noah, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think they're still a playoff team. I mean, right now they're a couple games out a couple games ahead in the division lead. I mean, it really for San Francisco is just kind of hold on tight. It's just kind of a hold on tight situation and just stay as healthy as possible because they do potentially get Christian McCaffrey back in November. If they can get CMC back, maybe that gives them a boost in the run game and they can just rely on the run game as much as possible and see where that takes them. But yeah, not having Brandon Ayuk, that's big because now a lot of the targets are going to be targeted. A lot of those targets that Samuel would have mostly go to Ayuk. And Ayuk is kind of your traditional wide receiver for this team. Debo's kind of more of like a gadget player. You line him up in a running back, you line him up in motion, you can do jet sweeps, but Ayuk is more that traditional receiver. So now you take that away. Now you're asking Debo to be a traditional wide receiver. And I'll be honest, he is a terrible, terrible, terrible wide receiver when it comes to the passing game. Like, he just doesn't have the body of a wide receiver. I get that. He doesn't really run the best of routes. And just also too, like, he's more used in the running game. You really now are asking him to try and go out and catch, 15, 20 passes a game or get 15, 20 targets. And he's not a guy really that does that.
To me, it's less
like Jawan Jennings does that more.
It's less to me about his. I think to me that's less about detracting from Debo's skill sets and more about limiting where he has unique talents.
Yeah.
Because when you reach the point that you are lacking the wide receiver depth, that you can't use him in a different way than your other guys, that's where I see it. I see it more as a hindrance to San Francisco's offense than something I'm going to ding Debo Samuel in particular for.
Oh, I might ding him because he's Debo.
Fair enough, I guess. But yeah, it's hard out there, man. The injury bug is starting to come for a lot of these NFL teams. And I think the San Francisco 49ers have a little bit of time to get right here with their upcoming schedule. What do we got? Are they headed? Oh, they're playing. That's right. They're playing the Cowboys this week, which, man,
they got a tough 2-game schedule, 2-game slate here.
Cowboys and then the Buccaneers.
At Tampa Bay.
That's kind of the Bucs. Like, the Buccaneers have had, I think, the most, by DVOA, have had the most difficult schedule so far in the league. And going forward, they have the least difficult schedule in the league. Yes, that's correct. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe this 49ers team gets a little bit more healthy and that doesn't look like as easy a schedule anymore. And I don't know, maybe the Falcons really find their bones, but anyway, we're talking about the 49ers. But yeah, I mean, even this depleted Niners team, I think, has more than a good shot at beating the Cowboys. Like, do you disagree there?
It's the Cowboys. I mean, we've had this conversation so many times about the Cowboys, but I think they maybe edge out against Dallas. It's just a matter of how healthy they can stay and how healthy they can be. And it's not
their priorities are more long term than this Sunday's game.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, it's kind of, they should be thinking about down the stretch when they get to December here, and and those games are really important to win, versus we're in October and you don't have to worry yet about your team's health until it really matters, and you're just still trying to get everybody back. So
yeah, and I mean, they've been trying to get everybody back since before week 1. Right? Yeah, and that's where this Ayuk thing, to bring it all full circle. Good for him. He got his money.
Got his bag.
That's bag. I mean, it's ultimately, you want to make sure that the players are taking advantage of these billionaire owners. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, taking advantage of them, but I mean taking advantage of the limited opportunities that these players have to sign their second, or in very limited cases, third contracts. Set up your family. And that's why these players hold out, because sometimes stuff happens. And for Brandon Ayuk's sake, I mean, I'm glad that he got his insurance policy via that contract,
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen it before happen to players where they have came back, and have got extremely paid. I mean, obviously for a big Packer, David Bakhtiari, remember he signed, what was it, a 6-year contract after and then like that same week towards ACL. So you got to get your money when you can.
Yep.
How the other thing is with Brandon Ayuk, and this is the last thing before we get to third down, How is he going to look coming out of this knee injury? Because with ACL injuries, it is it takes a
I
lot
don't
of
think we're
juice
going
out
to
of
see
you.
him week 1 next year. I
Yeah,
really doubt it.
because the thing that I've seen with ACL injuries, and I suffered one back in high school, is you're not the same kind of player that you once were.
Mhm.
You lose a lot of your juice from your knee. You lose a lot of juice from your legs. I mean, because you just had to work yourself through rehab, you had to work yourself through surgery. You have to basically retrain your legs to
Mhm.
walk.
Mhm.
So how does Ayuk come out, and how is his style of play going to be? Is he still
Yeah.
going to be that guy that's speedy enough to outrun people, or is it going to be a situation where now he's a possession wide receiver? That's
Yep.
kind of the issue with. That's kind of the question mark that I would have uh, with Brandon Ayuk. So this is a good talk. Third down, another injury, Jaden Daniels. And this is a tough one for the Commanders because they're playing so well. They lead the division right now. He suffers a rib injury. And for the Commanders, he may not play this Sunday. And he's considered week to week, Dan Quinn says. Hopefully, they will have him on Sunday. Big game because number 1, number 2 picks, Bears and Commanders, that game is potentially in jeopardy. Not looking good for Washington right now with Jaden Daniels. Kedrick.
No, I mean, I think you feel fortunate. It's when you bruise a rib, right? It can always be a lot worse. You can break the rib, you can puncture a lung, and in this case, just appears to be just a relatively minor rib injury, which, although Daniels has not practiced this week, maybe that means that he's able to come back sooner than later this season. Because all of a sudden, I mean, Washington feels like they kind of have not a stranglehold on the NFC East, but I would.
They have a sizable lead right now. They have a sizable
Yeah,
chance
right.
to.
I think they're decent favorites in that division, and it's not like their schedule is a behemoth by any means either. Their schedule is the 25th most difficult moving forward in the league, right? I think the most difficult game remaining for them is probably.
The
Oh God,
Eagles. The
I don't
Eagles,
know.
maybe.
No, you tell me. You tell me.
So
Most
looking at
difficult
the
remaining. It is they host the Bears
yeah,
at the Giants, host the Steelers at and then they play the Eagles twice, they play the Cowboys twice, and then the Titans, Saints, Falcons.
I think the Eagles game is going to be kind of what decides the division. I think that's going to be what decides it. I think uh I I do think that they have, if we're looking at their schedule, I think the Eagles are probably the only team that stand in their way of winning a division title.
Mm.
Like looking at the rest of that schedule, they could win all of those games.
Yeah.
And they could win all those games and make the playoffs. The
I
Eagles
assume
ones,
that they'll split with the Cowboys.
yeah, the Cowboys, they could potentially split, but the Eagles, man, that's the series where I think they could get swept and really could take a hit in the
Yeah.
division.
Yeah.
Because there's only 7 playoff spots. You got to get one, and I think for Washington they have to win the division
I mean,
to
and hey,
to get themselves a spot,
if you
which would
look
be
at
huge.
how Russell Wilson commanded the Steelers offense on Thursday night, all of a sudden that Steelers Commanders game looks a heck of a lot more enticing
Yeah.
than it did a
Oh
week ago, right?
God,
Like I,
God.
I'm not saying, but I am just saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's we may
Oh
be back to someone getting to cook.
no! Don't let him cook.
You want a sandwich?
Don't let Mr. Unlimited cook. Don't let Mr. Unlimited cook. Oh Lord. But the Commanders to me, if they do win the division, it'd be a great turnaround. That Eagles game to me just is
Mhm.
what's concerning. I think if they can split one, if they split one of those games with Philadelphia, I think they have a chance because the Eagles do have a little bit harder of a schedule.
Mhm.
If let me look at this here. Yeah, the Eagles have a little bit harder of a schedule. They've got So they've got the Bengals, Jaguars, Cowboys. They got the Cowboys twice. They got the Commanders twice. And they also have the Steelers and the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a little bit harder road to win the division. So the Commanders, they split one of those games. That's an opportunity for them to say, okay, we got one. If we lose one, it's no big deal because their schedule is a little bit harder than the one that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just, oh, goodness. But hopefully Jane Daniels is okay. That would be an exciting matchup this Sunday. Bears Commanders. It got flexed to 325, so there's that plus. And I believe it's at Soldier Field, or is it at FedEx Field?
Who cares?
Who cares? Fair point. Fair point. Fourth down.
Both dumps in terms of like NFL stadiums.
Yes. Let's be very honest. You got a spaceship dump, and you've got just a dump. So dump. Fourth down. Tua Tagovailoa for the Miami Dolphins. He has been in concussion protocol for quite a while, and he was on IR. He is returning to practice for the Miami Dolphins. Will he play this Sunday? Probably not. Will he play multiple games? Potentially. But the huge question mark is, Kedrick, is Tua, what are we going to see from Tua? And even more of a health side of this, like, this kind of affects his career if he comes back to play once again, because this is what his third or fourth concussion now since being the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah. I know Mike McDaniel said that Tua was going to practice today on Wednesday this week, but wouldn't confirm his status for the game this Sunday against Arizona. I mean, you hope the best for him. And if this, I mean, depending on how many games that he can play, this ultimately changes the trajectory of what is possible for the Miami Dolphins. I think ultimately the division is probably already lost because Buffalo has a 3-game lead in that division already, which just feels massive. And it's not like Miami has a big opportunity with 2 games remaining against the Bills either. They only have the one after Buffalo stomped on the Dolphins earlier this year. It's a tough road to hoe back when you're already 2 games under 500. And if they lose to Arizona, it almost makes you want to start asking, like, is it worth trying to come back? It's not like you can, I mean, as far as I think our understanding of Tua is I don't think he can like re-injure himself, reconcuss himself. I mean, you can obviously you can obviously be concussed again, but it's not as if just suffering a concussion now makes you more susceptible to another one. But that's the big Tua question, isn't it? Is there something unique going on there that makes this happen, or is this random chance? Unfortunately, I don't think there's a great answer for that beyond wild speculation.
Yeah, it is very. I think what also too for Tua, that this has been frustrating about the whole Tua situation and what Tua is not considering is his career, like his health. Sometimes health is more important than the game. And when you've had as many concussions as he's had, like, you got to start considering, maybe finding a different job, and not trying to put your body at risk, especially brain injuries. Like, brain injuries now more than ever are more and more severe with the way the NFL treats them. So this is it's not just like, it's a season-ending injury. No, it's career-ending injuries. Like, this is a career-ending injury, and it's a life-threatening injury too. Like, we've seen it in the past with multiple athletes who have had situations where they've had a concussion and then that's their season. That's their season. That's their career. Like it's tough. So I wish Tua would think a little bit smarter. Now I know obviously he's took a couple things to the head, but like,
what does that mean though? What does think smarter mean?
Like, I mean, just think about like long term in terms of your health. Like,
You think he hasn't?
I mean, like,
I mean, that's your implication here.
Yeah.
Is that you don't believe that he has considered those things.
And I don't think he had, like, because, I mean, come on, what, like, we're going through, he's had multiple concussions now. Like, any person who's had multiple concussions and is still playing, it does bring up a question mark as to why are you choosing this route? Like,
yeah, but I think your implication there is different, though. I
Yeah.
think you can I think you can criticize the decision that he comes to, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But
So-
I don't think that it is responsible for us, not even just you and I, but us, the grand commentariat,
Yeah.
to speculate as to the things he is or is not considering, especially when this conversation has been in vogue for so long concerning him. I am sure, I am certain that this is something that he has considered over time.
Yeah, which is fair. Now, if he goes out there this Sunday and balls out, I'm going to take everything back. I'm going to be like, okay, he's fine. Dolphins are back. My pick is back on for the AFC East, so we hopefully, they'll be fine. But man, they have been a tough watch with Tyler Huntley as their quarterback. It has been quite brutal for the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, those are drives of the week. Bringing home the bacon. This is kind of a hilarious one for bringing home the bacon today. Justin Herbert in a Cardinals loss. If anybody stayed up and watched the Monday night football game that was the Cardinals and the Chargers,
ESPN exclusive.
Yes, the ESPN exclusive.
ESPN Plus exclusive.
ESPN Plus exclusive. You were treated to a snooze fest because 16-10 was the final score. But for some reason, Justin Herbert just decided he's going to throw for 350 passing yards, 8.9 yards per attempt, almost 9 yards per attempt, and they still lost. Congrats to Herbert. He gets on the slab of bacon, but like, man, that was a rough game.
He is doing it all for the Chargers offense. And it's unbelievable. Before the Chargers kicked a field goal in the fourth quarter, he had generated 13.1 expected points added. At that point in time, the Chargers had 12 points on the board.
Lord.
I mean, there's just nobody doing anything. His number one wide receiver is basically Ladd McConkey, which I like Ladd McConkey as much as the next college football fan. But
he's a good fellow lad.
He can't be your number one wide receiver. I don't think. So real rough when, man. Yeah, but Justin Herbert, way to ball out. Couldn't find the end zone. Unbelievable. Jake Dicker with all 15 of the Chargers points in that one, all 5 field goals.
Yikes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but I mean, an electric performance by Justin Herbert between the 20s.
It's also like we talked about this before we came on, like the Greg Roman offense. Like Greg Roman's offense is kind of a run heavy triple option style NFL offense. I mean, like they don't really air the ball out. They don't really utilize the passing game as much as they should. And Herbert, I think it is frustrating because you look at what Greg Roman did with Lamar and how frustrating it was for Lamar having to do all this stuff. And even him having some decent pass catchers and still not being able to generate much of the passing game. I mean, now you look at it when after Greg Roman left and they replaced him with Todd Monken. I mean, now you could see how electric that Ravens offense is. I mean, but I do think you're correct on this. Like part partially correct on this because you look at it, Lad McConkey cannot be your number one wide receiver. He just cannot. He's a rookie. He can't. Like you have to find better options. Even too, like Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer, those are your options at wide receiver. No, you've got to find wide receiver options. And this is where I think too, maybe you consider bringing back Mike Williams. Maybe
they also didn't even have a running game. J.K. Dobbins, their leading rusher at 2.9 yards per carry.
Like, it was terrible.
Meanwhile, you're getting gashed by Kyler Murray and James Conner on the ground on the opposite side of the ball. Like,
figure it out. Figure it out, Harbaugh. Figure it out.
It's early. I mean, that was, I don't know. I don't know what you do. It's rough. Gotta be rough for the 12 Chargers fans out there.
Although there was a lot of Chargers fans in that Monday night game, though.
Yeah,
which was very odd.
Very
odd.
I guess they all just live in Arizona and don't go to games at SoFi.
That's too funny. Oh, the Arizona Chargers fans. Love it. Pigskin Picks prime time.
We have breaking news. Breaking news.
What's the breaking news?
For the first time all season, yours truly has taken the lead in the Pigskin Picks race. That is your breaking news right here on Snap the Pigskin. How does it feel, Noah, to finally take a back seat?
It sucks, let me just put it this way. It does not feel good. It sucks, but congrats to Kedrick. At least I'm not as bad as Sam. Let's put it that way. Let's throw it out there. I'm not as bad as Sam.
It ultimately flipped on that Chargers Cardinals game.
Yeah, that Chargers Cardinals game really screwed me.
By the way, you remained with a 1 point lead over the aggregate of the 24 games that we've picked so far. You had a 1 point lead going into that game, and I came out with the
road dog. He was the road dog this week.
Dynamic 6 point lead after that one. So that was quite exciting. Okay, so because now I have the lead, I will happily take honors on the T-Box this week. This does come with a small caveat, however, that you had a small lead after week 1. After week 2, we were exactly tied.
Yeah.
So, it's not been, but over the course of the last 3 weeks, I have been slowly climbing back into it, slowly closing the gap. It more so has to do with you having worse and worse performances, but I'll take it.
Yeah. brutal stuff over here. I mean, like this week was really brutal. I don't think I got 2 picks right.
You got wrecked because we picked 4 games, and 3 of those 4 we picked opposite sides on, and I came out 2-1 in those games. So
he was the road dog.
It helped. I will say, for as bad as we are, with me being off a 12.2 points per game average by picking the exact margin of victory, and you being off 12.45, straight up, we're pretty decent. You're 15-9 straight up picking games. I'm 14-10 straight up picking games. So it's not that terrible.
Not bad.
No, not bad if you're trying to use this as a place to find a little bit of action out of these primetime games, squeezing a little bit of value out of them. So let's go ahead and talk about the primetime picks this week. Starting with Thursday night football, Vikings at Rams.
Better than last week.
Better than last week. Fraudsters versus the insurance fraudsters. My God. So many injured Ravens. Or Rams, rather. The Rams might be getting Cooper Kupp back from this game.
Yes.
That's huge. Puka Nacua limited in practice Tuesday and Wednesday. His game status is officially questionable. Meanwhile, this is TJ Hawkinson's first week that he is eligible to play on the opposite side of the field for the Minnesota Vikings. So potentially a weapon for Sam Darnold getting back. He is also officially questionable in this one. And although Aaron Jones has been limited in practice this week with that lingering hamstring, he is full go. No injury status for him. I mean, 2 teams that I got I got real questions about. But I'm going to take the Vikings in this one. The defense there is just enough that I think they'll be able to get enough stops against this Rams offense that might not be firing on all cylinders with it getting back a few of its weapons. So I'm going to take the Vikings by 3.
Yeah, if TJ Hawkins comes back, man, this Vikings offense,
Yeah, I
very
mean that's
scary.
huge.
Very scary. They've been playing really well with the wide receivers. Now you add TJ Hawkinson, their pass catching tight end into the mix. This is a very scary team. I got Vikings. Simply put, I got Vikings by 7 in this game. I think Minnesota comes out. I think it's going to be close. I think the Rams, they've done a good job controlling the time of possession. They've done a good job of that. They, been running it with Kyron Williams, just keeping the ball on their side on the offensive side. I think that's what's going to be the reason for why this game is going to be close, is because they're going to limit the Vikings to possessions. But in the end, I think Minnesota pulls it out. I got Vikings by 7 in this one.
I also want to mention, while we're on the topic of the Vikings, the and like we talked about last week with the scoring margin and remaining strength of schedule and yada yada yada, when you're looking at the NFC North, the Packers, Lions, and Bears all in the top 5, all in the top 4 actually, of most difficult remaining strength of schedule by DVOA, with the Vikings sitting all the way down there at 12. So, like, for as much as we think the Vikings are maybe fraudsters, and I think, yes, part of this
They
is
are fraudsters.
The Vikings don't have to play the Vikings. The Vikings had real big wins early in the season that are maybe propping up their DVOA a little bit and making the schedule for the rest of the NFC North look more difficult. But like, there's a chance that even if we don't believe in the Vikings, they might be able to coast on a little bit of an easier schedule and still get themselves in the playoffs. Like, it's not unbelievable. And a win here, obviously, does a lot for you against a Rams team that I think what both you and I picked to make the playoffs coming into the year. And obviously things have not gone their way on the injury front, but you take a win anyway, you can get them in the National Football League.
A win is a win.
Yep.
A win is a win, basically.
Let's go on to another one of these California NFC West teams playing in prime time this weekend, and that is the San Francisco 49ers host the Dallas Cowboys in what can only be described as an incredibly anxious game for both teams.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons showed up on the injury report today on Wednesday, did not practice with an ankle. Brandon Autry also showed up in the injury report.
Okay, so hear about this. Get this. Get this with Brandon Aubrey.
I know.
Yeah. So get this with Brandon Aubrey. So Brandon Aubrey got put on the injury report, but it's not for any injury. This man has to go on jury duty.
Yeah.
Like, it's some interesting stuff right now. So he is questionable to play this Sunday because he has jury duty.
That's not the case. He will be playing on Sunday. Oh goodness. I am gonna go ahead and take the Niners by 6. And for taking them by almost a full, touchdown with the extra point, I don't feel super confident in that. I think if this becomes a high scoring shootout, I want the Cowboys. Does it become that though? Like, probably not. The Cowboys haven't shown me that they're a high flying offense. Not anything close to it. But man, it just feels like these are two teams that just really need a win to get the vibes back in their direction. Yeah, I don't know. Noah, how are you looking at this game?
It is very interesting. I mean, if we were to take last year's teams and put them into this game, it would be
banger.
Yeah, it'd be incredible. But both these teams kind of are not in very good spots right now. Both these teams are banged up. Both these teams have weaknesses on either side of the ball. The Cowboys defense is not that good. The Niners on the offensive side, they're banged up. They're
Cowboys defense,
struggling.
saying the Cowboys defense isn't not that good is like really underselling it. They
Okay,
have been
they suck.
awful.
They
Oh
suck.
yeah,
They suck
awful.
out loud.
And I wonder how much of that is the like whatever it was 42 points that they gave up to the Lions, but like yeah, they've not been good at
Yeah.
all. That secondary is crap.
Garbage.
Yep.
Garbage. So you took the Niners in this one?
I have the Niners by 6.
Okay. So I got the Niners in this one. I got the Niners in this one by 10.
Woo.
Got them double digiting this game.
All right.
I think Dak throws a pick here that costs this Cowboys team because Dak being Dak, he sucks and doesn't look good. I got Niners by 10 in this one. It just I would want to pick the Cowboys, but I don't trust them. I just don't trust them.
I mean, I can't
to win
blame
this
you.
game.
Like coming off a season where Dak Prescott looked like an MVP, he looks
Yeah.
like a below average quarterback right
he
now.
looks like a scrub.
He does not look good. And the swing between these two seasons is shocking, quite frankly. I mean, like he has a bottom 6 completion percentage on his passes. Like really bad negative CPOE numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he's not been
exciting.
Awesome this year. And yeah, I mean, it's not like he has, I don't know, start throwing it over the middle to Barry Alvarez grandson. Like I don't know. That's the only prescription I have for you.
Oh, that's
Also Braylon Allen is only 17.
Yes, he is. He is. Last game on our list, man. These New York teams on this Monday Night Football slate is just driving me insane.
Yeah.
Giants Steelers Monday Night Football. Oh, I'm getting tired of watching the Giants or the Jets in prime time. I'm sick of it. And here we go again. They play the Steelers this time. The Giants play the Steelers. Who do we got, Kedrick, in this one?
I had to.
If you say the Giants, if you say the New York Giants,
no, I'm not picking the Giants.
Okay,
I think I am officially done picking New York football teams to win games this year.
Yeah.
Which keep in mind, man, the Jets play in prime time twice in the next 4 weeks. Still.
I can't anymore.
How?
I want to be done.
We've watched them in prime time so many times this year. The Jets
and last year,
the Jets
and last
already played in 4 standalone games this year.
Oh my God.
4,
mind you, like one of those games was London.
No, sorry, no. Yeah, so yeah, 5 standalone games this year if you include the London game. They played in 4 primetime games, still play 2 more, and have played overseas. Oh, stop! It is awful.
I can't deal with it. The Jets, like this is an issue that has been this happened last year too with the Jets. Like they, for some reason, like the NFL just was like, oh, we gotta shove New York markets.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here's my new theory. By the way,
God,
I would love to see them get flexed off of Sunday night. I would love it more than anything.
For the love of
I don't
God.
know. Do they have a Sunday night game or is it a Monday night game? Who cares? But I think the only justifiable reason to keep them in primetime at this point in time is that it is some FCC regulation shenanigan where you're not allowed to show New York Jets football before kids go to bed.
Yes.
That's the only reason. But what I am gonna say is maybe equally disgusting, and is that I think I believe in the Steelers offense led by Russell Wilson. Like they looked good on Thursday night. Like it genuinely wasn't just the Jets looking bad. And I know that the Jets had 2 interceptions, one hilariously going right off of Russell Wilson's chest, or right off Garrett Wilson's chest, and just dropping in to the breadbasket of B.D. Bishop Jr. Just absolutely hilarious. Like to get a pass defended on the box score for that is truly funny. But like Russ threw a couple of times. Russ looked good, and I genuinely had to restrain myself a little bit from picking a really big Steelers win here, because I just need to see it more than once before I believe in it, because this defense is bona fide good. They have enough in the secondary, and then you have Nick Herbig, you have Keanu Benton, you have TJ Watt, and I know some of these young Badger names that I'm naming only came in late in that game because they were blowing out the Jets, but like there's a lot of talent on that defense that I just believe in at this point. And they're 5-2. It's not out of this world that like the Steelers could compete and take the division crown from the Baltimore Ravens yet. Like the Steelers got a lot to play for. And at this point, I think the only thing people in East Rutherford are playing for are their jobs. Either side of that building. So I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. I'm going to take the Steelers by 9.
Whew.
Yeah.
Whew. Oh goodness, man, this is brutal. This is brutal. I'm tired of watching Daniel Jones in these primetime games. I'm getting sick of it. It's just either Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers. I don't care. I'm tired of it. I guess like Russ maybe still has a little bit left in him. You know, Mr. Unlimited maybe is back, but
I don't want to say that he has too much to him, right?
No.
Because some of these, like if you look at the drive chart, there's one, like there's a 1 play, 1 yard touchdown drive in there, right? Because you get the interception from
Lord. God almighty.
It's so funny. Like, and you get like a couple short field, but like late in the game, he leads a drive for 75 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Late in the game, he leads a 13-play, 75-yard drive on top of the first one that went 11 plays, 75 yards. Like there's something to believe in a little bit here for that offense, where maybe just like Russell Fields' ability to throw a football. Russell Wilson's ability to throw a football, something Justin Fields does not have. Just gives you something else for this offense.
Yeah, give me what the hell? Give me Steelers by 10. Give me Steelers by 10.
All right. I see you.
Actually, make it even more. Give me Steelers by 13 in this one.
Okay.
I think I think the Giants, their season already been over. I don't think they should fire Brian Daboll. I think they have a Daniel Jones problem. And
the Brian Daboll thing and the Daniel Jones thing, all it matters is, did Brian Daboll sign off on the Daniel Jones extension?
Which he did not. I hope he didn't. Let me phrase that. I hope he didn't.
Yeah. I mean, like you don't know that for sure. If he did, see ya. If he didn't, and this wasn't necessarily his guy, then yeah, keep your job. Yeah. But yeah, that's the only question I have for him. I think.
I'm just I can't watch any more of these New York market teams. I'm having a terrible time.
I mean, have the Giants really played on primetime that much? I don't think so.
They've played a few primetime games.
Like everybody plays a few primetime games.
But it's like
and the Jets who play 7 times.
But it's like watching the Giants, like either it's just a terrible game to watch.
I mean, I'm not saying they're good.
I know, but it's like watching Daniel Jones, it just is like it's brutal. It's brutal watching Daniel Jones. I like
this season. The Giants only play 3 primetime games this season. What do you?
I'm just on my high horse. I just can't. This is more of a Daniel Jones.
There's one thing that Noah will always do, and it will always be succumbing to recency bias. And I recognize that this right now is me also succumbing to the recency bias of saying that Noah's succumbing to this current recency bias, which makes this hilarious. But like, man, between this, the ref thing last week, like, man, get you
I'm on a
man
heater.
who loves his recency bias.
I'm on a heater right now. Let's just keep it going. That was fun. That was fun.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Watch Snap the Pigskin at youtube.com/snapthepigskin or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Also listen to Kendrick's podcast, Sconnie Six Pack. He does some great work over there. Big game for Wisconsin Badger football this weekend. They got Penn State. I'm hoping that there's a episode drop for that.
I genuinely thought you were going to say the women's hockey team.
Oh, no. Not because no, that game is, they're going to easily blow by Bemidji State this week.
Oh, that Bemidji State trap game. Here we go.
Lord.
Michaela Zilish Revenge Series.
Yes, because she transferred to Wisconsin. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. But Wisconsin plays Penn State. It's homecoming week too, so downtown's going to be just wild.
Should be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. So with that, I'm Noah, joined by Kendrick Stumbris. This has been another edition of Snap the Pigskin.